Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Module 4, Framing Your Design Challenge. I am excited that you are here with us today and that you are ready to learn more about your design challenge. So before you get started with this one, I want to walk through a couple things with you. You may want to go back to Module 1 and looking at the treasure hunt that you did, as well as the brainstorm, because your brainstorm will actually help you with this to make sure that you're on the right track. You also want to make sure that as you're going through this, that you work with your stakeholders, meaning your site supervisor, as well as people within the organization, to find out more about what design challenge they're interested in having you pursue. Make sure that you are balancing what you think as well as what the organization thinks. It's really more important for the organization to have a solution that they're excited about. So make sure what you are working on is in line with the organization. So every week you should be meeting with your organization to make sure that you're on target and that the solution is generated by them and you're assisting in the process. If you're leading the solution and they're like, oh yeah, this is fine, that may not be the case. So make sure that they are on board. You'll notice in the activity this week that there are places for you to meet. I almost want you to meet with them first. Like we've talked about several times, have a meeting before your week gets really started to touch base, then have a wrap-up meeting to show them what you're working on. So that way everybody is on the same page. So as we kind of dive through this, there are 3 major assignments this week. The first one is framing your design challenge. The second one is communicating with your peers. The third one is your intern time card, your impact, or your timesheet. So make sure that you're working on all 3 of those. This video is going to land right here. So make sure that you take some time to walk through all of these steps with me, because I'm going to walk through the entire assignment. So as you notice, the readings are right here, but I'm going to click on them as well. These are the 2 important readings. Also in this chapter or this module, you will find this link, which is Framing Your Design Challenge. It is linked actually in the module, so make sure you click on it and you review it. But those are the major readings. And then also you're looking at the presentation now, so you'll get to see this. So let's dive in. So your first piece as we jump into this, Framing Your Design Challenge, take a look at the sample, the template, and the rubric. And like I said before, these are some of the pieces that you're going to walk through. So for this activity, you're going to frame out your design challenge. So to get started, this is your IDEO link. As you look at the IDEO link, it's going to walk you through kind of the basic pieces of this. So if you're looking for more guidance, more understanding, take a look at this. Also, take a look at the readings, because they're very important as well. So go back to that readings tab and read those 2 from the community toolbook. They're very important. They will help you understand. One is reframing an issue, and one is looking at how the community feels about an issue. But for your actual design challenge form, which I'm going to show you in a minute, it's kind of a basic look of this one here. We added some things onto it, so please don't click on their worksheet. We've added some other pieces to kind of pull this apart. There are a couple steps to this, so I would say read this. If you're looking at defining your audience, looking at aligning your impact goals, there's some more information here for you to kind of work through. There's also another video that kind of helps you pull out that design challenge, so you can watch this video as well. So let's kind of dive into this. I always like to start off with, this is your template. You're going to click Use Template. Once you go into it, you're starting off with the readings, where there's 2 toolbox readings as well as the IDEO reading, and then you're going to jump in. So the first piece that you're going to do is you're looking at the basics. You're going to look at the topic, idea, or the issues. This does not need to be a full sentence. It can be, a couple, key words that explain, like I am working, as we've talked about this before, I'm working on a coding project. So mine is like coding and programming with kids. So, kids there are not adequate resources in a lot of schools to help kids learn coding and programming. So that's my challenge topic area, really looking at how do we find solutions for kids, teaching them coding and programming. So population description, you want to give a really thorough description of the population that you're working with, really brainstorm that out. For me, as I talk about mine, I'm really looking at kids middle school to high school that want to learn coding. So my main goal is middle school, expanding to high school, as well as circling back as we kind of develop this whole project out, working with the kindergarten through fifth grade student, looking at different programs that are available to make that happen. Also, you want to look at, so that's my population, problem description. So as I started talking a little bit up here, really thinking about what is your problem. Now, a lot of you are going to say, I'm going to write a paragraph, I'm going to be done. This is where you really explain what that problem is. Why is that problem important? Why do we care? Like, what are the pieces of this that are really important? What are you trying to solve? Like in my case, I'm trying to look at viable solutions to help kids learn how to code and to program, but I'm also trying to figure out, how do I make teachers more comfortable? How do I help them? How do I work with parents? How do we influence maybe some of the toys that kids are buying, and then give parents the resource that through our website, kids can learn about coding and programming, and teachers and parents don't have to know it. It's also a way for teachers and parents to learn how to do things by utilizing the website as well. So really explain what your problem is in full detail. After that, you're going to go into framing out your design challenge. So you're going to try to, capture it in one sentence, really kind of outline what is the design challenge. This is where I want you to think about those how might we statements that we added from before. So think back to last semester when you learned about how might we statements, and you're going to come up with a statement that really encapsulates your full challenge. So give that a try. Next, I want you to think about goals. What are the outcome goals that you want to achieve? Take a moment to think about what you want to achieve overall. What are the outcomes? How is this population benefit? How will they benefit? And what impact does your project have? So you want to take some time to really pull that out and think about it. Next up, I want you to think about your constraints. What are the constraints that will kind of limit your project? What are the things that you're worried about? What are the things that, like your fears? So I always call this a fear section. Write down the things that are going to affect you. For me, I think about my biggest piece is, how do we get enough funding to give all these robots and coding programs to kids? Do we need technology? Will there be enough technology? For some students that are remote, do they have electricity? Do they have Wi-Fi? Will kids like this? Will this be something that teachers gravitate towards? When will they find time for this in the school day? Those are the type of things that you want to add. Any fear that you have that you're like, okay, how do I figure this out? Let's put it on paper and figure out how we're going to solve it. And then as you're thinking about this, what are some of the solutions? What are some of the things that you talk about the problems, poor education in coding, teachers' reluctance to coding, no access, all these other pieces. What is the solution? What are some of the possible solutions? So for us, we were looking at, more programs that teach teachers, more programs that go into the school. Maybe it's an after-school program, an in-school program. We're also looking at, is it possible to do a website-based curriculum? We're leaning towards the web-based. But, how does that work? How does that function? So what are some of the possible solutions you're coming up with? And then you're going to round out and redesign that challenge question that you came up to it originally. Try it again. Let's make it more of a full design question that you can now answer. And this is the one that I mentioned earlier. You may want to have this group meeting before, rather than having it at the end, especially if you're leaving from brainstorming and you're choosing something. Again, you don't want to choose. You want your organization to choose. And you want them to kind of guide what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. So you may want to think about, for this communicating your ideas and getting feedback, beginning of the week, running through this with your team and talking to them. And then at the end of the week, summarize with what you've come up with. Very important to do that. As we keep going down, there is a team. This is where you're actually putting your team together. Who are you going to be working with? How are you going to make this all possible? So your supervisor will be on your team. There may be some other volunteers on your team. Think about who's on your team and add them to this. Your team is very important. That team meeting is very important. Outside of this, so that's the end. If you get to this, you've done the major assignment for the week. Once we jump back, you have either a team talk or a Yellow Dig assignment for this week. You also have a timesheet that you're going to fill out. So make sure you're doing all these. Stay on track. Let us know if you have questions. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.